Good morning, class 12. I was discussing with you the methods of preparation of colloidal solution, in which I covered the electrodisintegration method or the Briggs arc method, and this is a very important method, children. It has been asked a number of times in your exams also, so please do remember this. Now in today's session I'll be covering up the next methods, that is the chemical methods and the peptidization. So first of all, let me tell you about the chemical methods of the preparation of colloidal solution. The first chemical method includes the double decomposition reaction. You can see here that we have an aqueous solution of arsenic oxide and H2S, and in double decomposition you know that ionic exchange takes place. So similarly ionic exchange has taken place and you'll get As2S3, which is an aqueous solution, and it will behave as colloidal solution. This is a very simple method. And then by reduction, if you take an aqueous solution of auric chloride and react it with tin chloride, you will get the gold sol as a result, and this will be a byproduct. And by oxidation, in oxidation, if you react SO2 with H2S, you will get sulfur, colloidal solution of sulfur and water as a byproduct. And if the same oxidation reaction is carried out with bromine and H2S, then you will get sulfur sol along with HBr as a byproduct. This is oxidation reaction. And then hydrolysis. Hydrolysis means reacting with water. FeCl3, the aqueous solution of FeCl3, when reacted with water, you will get the colloidal solution of FeOH whole thrice, and HCl will be a byproduct. So these are the chemical reactions only wherein you can see the production of simple colloidal solutions. Now coming on to the next topic, that is peptidization. Very important topic, children. This year only a question was asked to define peptidization, and most of the times it is asked from this chapter. And another term that was asked was Kraft temperature, that I discussed in the missile formation. And the third definition that was asked was yes, it was shape selective catalysis. Now shape selective catalyst I will be taking up later on. So first of all, let us see what is peptidization. Peptidization is a process, children, where a freshly prepared precipitate. First of all, recall what is a precipitate. If suppose you have a container, if you have a test tube, you have done a n number of precipitation reactions in the lab, then the reaction, if in the reaction you see a solid substance settled at the bottom, then it is known as precipitate, and the one which is settled above this solid substance is known as filtrate. So basically the precipitate is what we need, and this can be converted into a colloidal solution by simply shaking it with an electrolyte, with a suitable electrolyte, which is known as peptizing agent. Okay, this is a very simple process of converting a freshly prepared precipitate into a colloidal solution by reacting it or by shaking it with a suitable electrolyte. For example, FeOH whole thrice PPT, when reacted or treated with FeCl3 solution, electrolytic solution, it will get converted into a colloidal solution. Similarly, AgI is a precipitate, silver iodide. These are the common precipitates that you have already done in your previous classes. When it is shook with AgNO3 electrolyte or Ki electrolyte, it will get converted into colloidal solution. So this is the overall method of peptidization: precipitate plus water plus suitable electrolyte giving rise to colloidal solution. Now what happens actually, how this process occurs? Okay, if you have taken AgCl as a precipitate in this container, and now if you add the precipitate, which is AgNO3 in this case, now whenever you are adding a precipitate, then what happens, you can see here I have mentioned positively charged particles inside. So on adding the electrolyte to the precipitate particles or the molecules, they acquire some charge, either positive or negative. Now when they become charged, they start repelling each other. So as a result, it will not settle down at the bottom. So first thing that you need to make sure when you are preparing a colloidal solution is the colloidal solution should not get settled at the bottom. That is, it should not get converted into suspension. Second is, the particle size should fall in the range of colloidal particles. Okay, that is 1 to 10 raised to the power 3 nanometer. So this is the colloidal particle range that has to be followed when you are preparing a colloidal solution. So what happens when AgNO3 is added to AgCl PPT, we get positively charged colloidal particles which repel each other. As a result, it will never settle down. If suppose one particle has come down, the moment another will try to come near to it, it will get repelled. As a result, they will not come close to each other, so no aggregation is possible. So you can see here I have zoomed out this one particle to explain you what happens actually. Here you can see that a molecule of AgCl is there. Now what happens? Ag plus particle has adsorbed itself on this molecule. Okay, now this whole molecule becomes positively charged. This happens due to preferential adsorption. So if this is the sol AgCl, you have to convert this PPT into a colloidal sol. Then the common ion from the precipitate gets adsorbed over the surface. So what happens in case of AgCl and AgNO3? What is the common ion? It is silver ion. So the silver ions get adsorbed over the surface of AgCl. As a result, it acquires positive charge. Now it has been converted into positive sol, which is a stable sol now. It is represented like this. This is again a very important question for your boards. It has been asked in 2019. AgCl, Ag plus. It has been represented like this. So to convert a precipitate into a colloidal solution, what do we have to do? We have to shake a freshly prepared precipitate with a suitable electrolyte having a common ion in it. Okay, and then we get colloidal solution which is charged. But overall this colloidal system will be neutral. Why? Because the Ag has adsorbed itself on the surface, but nitrate is there in the solution as a spectator ion, though it is not interfering in this system, but it is there in the solution as a whole. So this solution as a whole remains neutral, but colloidal particle has a charge of positive charge. Okay. So another example is also mentioned here. If suppose a PPT of ferric hydroxide is shaken with electrolyte FeCl3, what will happen in the presence of water? Obviously, what will happen? This FeOH whole thrice will adsorb on its surface the Fe3 plus ion. So you'll get a colloidal sol of this formula where you can see FeOH whole thrice. It is having Fe3 plus on its surface. It is again a positive sol. Now common ion get adsorbed. So the charge on the colloid will be decided by the common ions charge. It will be decided by common ions charge. So children, I hope it is clear. Now next topic is the purification of colloids. But before I begin with this topic, purification of colloids, I would like to discuss with you the origin of charge first. Origin of charge is a related topic. So obviously it will help you in understanding in a better way. So origin of charge, I have discussed with you the concept of charge in case of peptidization. The charge is decided by the preferential adsorption of the common ion on the surface of colloidal sol that I discussed with you in the concept of peptidization. That is, if you shake precipitate of FeOH whole thrice with FeCl3, obviously the common ion is Fe3 plus, which will get adsorbed over the surface, and the charge on the this colloidal sol will be positive. So I hope it is clear. Now another example where the two compounds which are added with each other doesn't have any common ion, then how will you find out the charge? So if suppose AgNO3 reacts with NaI in excess, please make this point clear. NaI is taken in excess. Now when AgNO3 reacts with NaI, first of all, none of the two will behave as a sol here. The two will react to produce the sol first. So you will get the sol or the colloidal. Sol means it is a type of colloid. If you remember, I gave you a table where I named the different types of sol or the colloidal solutions depending upon the dispersed phase and dispersion medium. I hope you remember that. So when you react these two, on the exchange of ion, you'll get AgI, the sol of AgI, which is a precipitate now. Now, apart from this, you have various other ions also in the solution. You will be having Ag plus, you will be having nitrate, you will be having Na plus, you will be having iodide. But these two, that is Ag plus and nitrate, are present in limited quantity. So forget about these two. They have already reacted with this compound to produce the sol. Now the excess that we have is Na plus and iodide ion. Now among these two, which one is the common ion? It is iodide. So obviously on this sol, what will get absorbed? It will be iodide ion. As a result, you will get a sol like this, AgI adsorbed with iodide ion, which will behave as a negative sol. A very important concept, children. So when you have these any two compounds reacting with each other wherein no common ion is there, so first of all you will prepare the compound with by using your brain. You'll prepare the precipitate first, and then you have to keep in mind which one is present in excess. The one which is present in excess obviously will furnish extra ion to get absorbed over the surface of the sol. So in this case it will be iodide ion which will get absorbed over the surface of AgI, because the common is iodide, not Na. So you will get a negative sol. Similarly, if you have to represent this in the equation form, it will, or sorry, if you have to react NaI with AgNO3, but this time the one which is in excess is AgNO3. See the difference. This is very important point. The one which is in excess is AgNO3. So obviously the sol that will be produced will be AgI only, but the common ion that will get absorbed on the surface will be Ag plus, because this time we have Ag plus and nitrate ion in excess. This is already consumed in the preparation of AgI. So the common ion in AgI and AgNO3 is Ag. So it will get absorbed over the surface, and the sol that you will get is positively charged. This is very important, and I hope it is clear to you. Now moving on to the next topic, that is purification methods. Purification of sol, which includes three main methods: dialysis, electrodialysis and ultrafiltration. Dialysis is a common technique which you must have heard of also. It is used in case of artificial kidney. So dialysis is a method of purification of salts which includes the semi-permeable membrane and simple osmosis phenomena. So this is a process of separating the particles of the colloids from those of crystalloids. So the difference between colloids and crystalloids is, colloid is the required particle that we need from the solution, and crystalloids are the ionic particles which are not required. And the special property of crystalloid is this: they can pass through the parchment membrane, or they can pass through the semi-permeable membrane, whereas colloidal particles cannot. So this is the process of separating the particles of colloids from the unrequired particles, which are known as crystalloids, by diffusion of the mixture through a parchment paper or animal membrane. Now crystalloids are those which can diffuse through the parchment paper and colloids cannot. So this particular membrane basically helps in the separation of the two during the dialysis. And then coming to electrodialysis. Electrodialysis means the same process when carried out in the presence of electric field. It becomes very fast process, and the methodology is same. The movement of ions across the membrane, as in case of dialysis, is expedited by applying electric current through two electrodes. That is, it is increased in speed now. This process, that process of dialysis has now increased its speed because of the presence of electric field. The movement of ions will obviously take place at a faster rate when it is occurring in the presence of electric field, because the particles will start migrating towards the oppositely charged plate. Now, application in purification of blood, as I told you, that dialysis is a technique which is used in case of kidney failure in the form of artificial kidney. So it helps in the purification of blood. How? The colloidal blood is a colloid, children. Blood is a colloid, a very important point. The colloidal blood particles are retained while the waste material diffuses out of the dialysing membrane. So what we need is, during the dialysis technique or artificial kidney, what is the function of artificial kidney is to retain the pure blood particles, colloidal blood particles, and remove the unrequired particles through the membrane. So this is where the dialysis technique finds application. Now the third method is ultrafiltration. All the basic criteria of all the purification techniques are same, that is passing through a membrane. So filtration through ultrafilter paper. When ultrafilter paper is used to carry out the same process, that is filtration. What is filter paper, children? It is obtained by treating ordinary filter paper with collodion. Collodion is a type of solution or gelatin solution to narrow the pores suitably. So basically this ultrafilter paper is obtained by treating the normal filter paper with some special solutions which can be gelatin or collodion, so as to narrow down the pore size so that the crystalloids can pass through it, whereas the colloidal particles cannot. So this is all about today's session. Now next topics I'll be taking up in the next session only. So children, in today's session the most important topic we did is what is peptization and the origin of charge. Do practice those questions from NCERT also, and it is very important. Peptization is an extremely important definition from this chapter, which is asked frequently in your exams. And thank you for watching the video. Take care.